Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark here at ABC 10, and let's talk about La Nina. Now, we all know about El Nino. That's the more famous, well-known weather phenomenon in the Pacific, but there is a lot of talk about La Nina this year because it's happening. And you can see behind me, one of the main things that we look for a developing La Nina system is how the water in the middle of the Pacific is either above or below normal. Now, let's go back to what we've known and talked about for a long time, because there is a very strong connection, many years, but not all, with what happens with El Nino. What happens is normally you have trade winds that will move the water across the middle of the Pacific, and you get a basin where it's cooler on one side and warmer on the other. When they're weak, then all of a sudden this basin fills up with a bunch of warm water, and it does tend to alter the weather patterns all over the world. But obviously, we care more about what happens in North America. More often than not, for El Nino, it's wetter than normal, starting in Southern California through the southeast, and then it's going to be warmer, and it tends to be drier than normal very often in the Pacific Northwest. Well, let's flip it over to La Nina, because this is the situation we find ourselves in now for our winter and our rainy season of 2024 to 2025. You get stronger trade winds, which is going to take a lot of the cooler water in this part of the basin of the Pacific, along with some upwelling, which is drawing water underneath, colder water, and then pushing it out into the middle of the Pacific zone. So it pushes out that warm water. And what you tend to see here is drier than normal conditions for Southern California, wetter than normal and stormier conditions for the Pacific Northwest to about far Northern California. If you're looking at Sacramento for an exact La Nina forecast, we tend to fall right in the middle for one of those events. However, there's some tangential impacts with this. So here's the most current sea surface temperature anomaly. What is this? This is looking at the ocean water, and is it above or below normal? The bluer colors indicate that it's cooler than normal. And in this zone, the 3.4 region for the Nino 3.4 region, which is right in the middle of the Pacific, it's trending now a degree 0.26 Celsius below average. That means that we're not only in La Nina category, it's going to be past weak and moving into moderate and almost strong. It would have to sustain this and get even stronger to really get there. So we'll call it weak to moderate is what we're expecting for the rest of the season. So what does this mean for us? I want to summarize a couple things, because when you look at a bunch of maps, you may lose the message. La Nina means it's cooler than normal at the equator. It can alter the weather patterns across the planet, but we care about what happens for North America in this video. Wetter than normal Pacific Northwest. We tend to see drier than normal Southern California conditions, and the strength can matter in a situation like this, rating it from a weak La Nina to moderate to strong. To summarize and clean up that other map, this is from climate.gov. This is from the government. This is what they tend to see in a La Nina pattern. We'll call it middle of the road. Drier than normal Southern California, wetter, and you can see some of the other impacts that take place across the rest of the country. So when you look at specifically California and you add up weak, moderate, and strong, we tend to see near normal precipitation or a little bit above. Southern California, 85% of normal for the inland parts of California. Along the coast, 79% of normal. You get the idea. There is a breakup between Northern and Southern California as far as most La Ninas. Now, when you look at some weak La Nina episodes, you can see that we tend to hover right around the middle of the road status. But again, we're seeing that pattern emerge for Southern California, that it is looking at lackluster precipitation. So very often that is the case. That's why they establish those larger patterns. But, some notable weak La Nina winters, there's lots of examples of it overperforming, and some examples where across the board for the whole state, it was well below average. And that was in recent memory. If you look at it all on a pie chart, you can pick out some of these years to really try and figure out these patterns. It's not a strong signal. And I think that's the main message that we will approach with this video about La Nina, is that 60% have been dry, but there's notable exceptions, and a lot of it is just middle of the road. So there is a connection, but is it really a strong connection like we tend to see with El Nino in most years? So for strong ones, we tend to see near to slightly above average for Northern California, and for Southern California, near to below average. So again, ranging from weak to strong, we still tend to see that same pattern. But I want to give you some actual numbers here. Let's just focus on Sacramento here for a second. Your average precip in Sacramento is going to be right around 18 to 19 inches for the entire water year. We've got a lot of years where it's a little bit above, we've got a lot of years where it's below, and a lot of years where it's very close. So it's difficult to pinpoint it exactly when you're right in the middle of the Pacific Northwest trend and the Southern California trend. With all of that said, we're in a moderate La Nina right now, officially from NOAA. They're calling it a La Nina watch because they have to see how long it sustains itself through the rest of the winter. But already we're starting to see some of the similar patterns emerge. For example, for far northern California, where we expect more precip because it's right on the bubble, we're well above average. In fact, we're almost 50% of the entire snowpack that we expect for a whole season. So really good there. And then it starts to go down for Southern California. Again, it's not totals that we care about, it's percentages of average. So that's where we're starting to see a little bit of a breakup. Anyway, you cut it though, with a strong connection and getting closer to the Pacific Northwest, across the state, we are above average for snow. This is specifically looking for precipitation. You could see right here, far northern California, we're looking at well above average for precip, rain in the bucket, along with melted precip in the buckets and snow pillows and so on for the Sierra. That strong connection, much lower than average once you get to central and southern California. That's how it's looking so far. But remember, our water year goes all the way till the end of September next year. So with all of that said, we have some correlation. It's not very strong. The reality is this. It all comes down to atmospheric rivers when you're in the nitty-gritty forecasting day to day, week to week, and month to month. These are the things that matter. If you get a bunch of these, you're going to be well above average. El Nino or La Nina, doesn't matter. You get a bunch of atmospheric rivers. These are these strong plumes of moisture that connect with storms out in the Pacific, and it depends where they land. If it lands in the Pacific Northwest, many times throughout the entire season, there's your La Nina connection. And if you could see here over the next several days to about a week out, a lot of this action is centered far northern California off to the north. It's very rarely, if at all, in the near term, making a strong connection to Southern California. So we can say with some degree of near certainty that we've seen a La Nina pattern that traditionally unfolds during an entire season. For our early season so far, and over the next week, week and a half, we're seeing that continue through the rest of December. The bottom line is this: if this kind of thing keeps happening through January, through February, and through March, we can go ahead and take this year and lump it into what we often see for a La Nina pattern. But if this starts changing during the season, it's going to be one of those anomalies. We will all wait and see. That's everything where we are right now with La Nina. Looking forward to 2025.
Thanks for watching ABC 10 Plus. And now that you're here, why don't we take a look around and see what else is here? The very first tile on your left is always going to be streaming 24/7. You can find us adjacent to that, breaking news if it's there. And then right next to that, a replay of the most recent newscast. Whether it's ABC 10 Morning News at 5, 6, or beyond, it's going to be there. The forecast beyond that, and then right beyond that, the news that matters the most. Now that you know the basic tiles, let's go up to the top and take a deeper dive into news. We have every single newscast that you would need, including To the Point with Alex Bell, taking a deeper dive into the issues. Beyond that, ABC 10 Morning News at 5 and 6 and 11, the evening shows as well. Below that, you can watch the top stories from To the Point. Under that, Dollars and Cents, where you can learn how to navigate this challenging economy. And below that, you can watch our award-winning ABC 10 Special Investigations, where we hold the powerful accountable. Going into weather, look, it's the 10-day forecast, getting you ready for the weekend and beyond. Beyond that, sports. I know you care about the Sacramento Kings. We have the most comprehensive guide to anything, everything Kings in the locker room and on the court. We have it. Below that, I know you care about the San Francisco 49ers. We can't mention Bay Sports without talking about the Oakland A's. We have that too. What's super exciting, I know you care about high school sports. You'll never find a more comprehensive guide and team dedicated to high school sports. Backing out again, come up to the top and join me on Verify. I'm super excited about this. Our experts are checking the facts, verifying the truth for you. Jump up now to shows. Very excited about this. Oh, look, it's Take a Look. This is my show. I love movies, and if you love movies or streaming shows, whether it's on screens this big, or this big, it's Take a Look. Recently went behind the scenes, sat down with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix to talk about Joker 2. I love the movie, and oh, I just heard you shout you hate the movie. Jump in, we talk about it on this show. Other shows, Bartell's Backroads, go up and down the state of California, tank of gas getaways, one fuel cell getaway, like places like the Toy Museum. This is what kids did before they had screens. Over here, the Moaning Caverns of Calaveras County, one of the most coveted caves in all of California. You know, watching this show, I discovered there's a cave that could fit the entire Statue of Liberty in your own backyard. You'll find about that and more with Bartell's Backroads. Down below that, To the Point. It is one of my favorite newscasts because they talk about news with Alex Bell the way you talk about news. It's conversational but in-depth at the same time. Below that, Your California Life. Love this show. Whether it's entertainment, food, beverage, lifestyle, it's there. Desiree Shepherd hosts and does an amazing job. So there you have it. It's ABC 10 Plus, the app. What do you need? We heard you and we got it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for streaming.